you want to make it like softer. Test. Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar, a collaboration between FutureLab and The Real Planner. If you haven't checked out FutureLab's previous webinars, they have had lots of cool topics, and keep an eye out for their upcoming ones because it's only going to get better from here. If this is your first time watching our webinar and do not know what FutureLab and The Real Planner is all about, then go to futurelab.my and therealplanner.com to check out what we are all about. My name is Ashley and I'm the CEO and founder of The Real Planner and creator of the Type P methodology. Especially in today's day and age, I know a lot of us are trying to take on the world by doing more every single day, taking on more responsibilities and commitments above and beyond what our mind and body are capable of sometimes. We also have different reasons why we work hard and do what we do, but rest assured that there is a community of us that is willing to hustle with you and make our world a more productive place. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about unleashing your ability to do more. And this is why you sign up for the webinar, right? So have you heard of Type P? I think maybe some of you have not. So before I explain what Type P is all about, let me give you a little more context on what Type A, B, C, and D are. You should fall in one of these categories. So Type A are people whose temperament is characterized by excessive ambition, competitiveness, drive, and sometimes an unrealistic sense of urgency. They may find it hard to relax. And Type B, on the other hand, are more laid back, they're more relaxed, flexible, emotional, and expressive. You could also be a Type C, where you're an individual that is in control, stable, enjoys details, accuracy, rationality, and logic. And then there is Type D, who tends to wear the black hat. But they're very supportive, caring, thoughtful, and compassionate. And if you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs test, which most of us have taken it before, if you have not, you could go to 16personalities.com and find out. There's Type E or I. There's also Type S or N, T or F, and J or P. So if you want to find out more about this, there's Google for it. But today we're going to focus about Type P. So Type P are people who perceive, is inclined to improvise and explore alternative options. Type P, as I would like to call it, are Type productive, Type proactive, positive, powerful, and a Type planner. So anyone can be a Type P if they want to and if they put their mind to it. By you watching this today, and for the live audience for being here today, welcome to the journey of being a Type P. We have a community of Type Ps, and you can find us on the Real Planner Facebook page. We'll also be launching our 100 #TRP challenge soon, so our community of Type P can stay motivated together on the 22nd of November. So save the date. It is a challenge to add on more things, so you're already full to-do list. And now you want to add on more things to do? Really? So would you be surprised if I were to tell you that this is one of the most frequently asked questions that has come up in my conversations? How do you take on more? How do you do more? And how do you manage your time doing so much? Some of you woke up early this morning, well, considering it's a Saturday morning, it's pretty early, to join us in our webinar today, which means you're serious on being able to do more with your time and ultimately do more with your life. So before I start, I would like to ask you to go to your web browser and type in Slido, SLI.do. And once you've gone into the homepage, enter The Real Planner after the hashtag. So let's take a moment to do that. Please also share this webinar on your Facebook page if you know that some of your friends will get value out of this. As we go along through the webinar, feel free to post questions up on Slido, and if you see a question you really want answered, all you have to do is press the like button so it will go all the way up. And I will address all the questions after this webinar. So let's dive right into the first step of being able to do more. Some of you may start to feel exhausted, sprinting towards your long-term goals or to achieve your short-term goals in your to-do list, but it doesn't seem to get any lesser. Or you're just feeling a little bit burned out. You can have all the productivity tools in the world and still feel like you haven't quite achieved maximum productivity. Because the thing about productivity that I've learned is that it's not about the quality, it's not about the quantity of what you've completed, but it is about the quality of what you've accomplished. I want you to understand that there are some factors in which productivity is heavily dependent on, which are eating, sleeping, and exercising. These are necessities and a prerequisite to productivity. So I urge you to eat, sleep, and exercise. Do it well and consistent before you move on to decide you're ready to take on more. So what I would like for us to do now is to identify what are some of the bad habits in your life that is taking up space and time. What are those things you do that you feel you have wasted time on and then you could have done something better with your time? So think about it for a minute, reflect on that. And the top 5 habits my team has shortlisted, which I think are pretty common. So if you can't think of any that moment ago, maybe you can choose one of these 5. So the first one is Procrastinator. Second is you can't say no. Third, always late. Fourth, Forgetful. And the 5th one, you're a Perfectionist. So if you fall in one of these 5 categories, please go to Slido now, put in the hashtag #TheRealPlanner and take on our poll. So we want to see how many of you are actually falling into one of these categories. So maybe we want to put up Slido and see if anyone's responding. So I personally feel like I'm a little bit of everything. Maybe some of you feel that way. But if I have to choose one, I would go for can't say no. So the first step is to identify these bad habits. And in this context, bad habits are the ones that hold you back from doing more. I want you to write them down on the top of your paper, like this. And feel free to write down more than one. So just put it on the top. Now, the second step that we're going to do is create some defense mechanisms for these bad habits, so that every time it surfaces, we know how to eradicate them by replacing them with our powerful thoughts and good habits. I come up with new strategies to trick my mind all the time, because my mind has figured out the old strategy was a lie or that it didn't make sense, and somehow it didn't work after a while. So it started out with, I would say no whenever I can, just to get used to the word no, 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 no. And sometimes I add just kidding to soften the blow. And then I tried saying no in my head as my cue to stop thinking and justifying the no. So sometimes no just means no. And I personally find it really difficult to walk away from an opportunity. I would want to apply to every job, attend every event, go to all the hangout sessions, buy everything on sale. And what I've learned is that I wanted to sacrifice something I really wanted by saying no, and I did that. So that in the future, I would be able to say no to the smaller, unimportant things, knowing I was able to give something big up. I would consider this a progress because recently I said a lot of no's to myself. And I'm really proud of it. For example, it may be small, but I would count it as progress. I really wanted to watch a new episode of Riverdale that only comes out every Thursday on Thursday itself. But I wouldn't let myself watch it unless I was watching it while running on a treadmill. I'm also completely okay pausing at the second last episode of Stranger Things. I know some of you might think I'm crazy. Like, pause, like right in the middle of the second last episode. And going to bed. Because my mind decided that, hey, I'm too tired for this and I'm going to say no now. But my boyfriend obviously wasn't too happy about that. And I also didn't submit 2 applications for an opportunity and a role that I really wanted. Because things are getting a little bit full now on my plate. And I know I won't be able to breathe or focus on what's important to me if I take on these other unimportant things. Sometimes you just gotta do less in order to do more. And sometimes you just need a little reminder to be realistic. Your life can be so hectic due to your priorities, activities, and people right now. And if you say yes to this, you never know what you might have to give up later on in the future. And worse, if it is unwillingly given up. I'm also a procrastinator in nature. I know some of you can relate. So what I do is I pack up my schedule just tight enough that I really had no room to procrastinate. Every hour I procrastinate is creating a backlog for something else that I should have or could have been doing. So I usually schedule in my movie nights, massage sessions, manicure or facial appointments. So I really do not have time. And I really have to just get all this work done now if I'm not going to be thinking about it during my massage session later, because it's not going to be worth it at all. And although a lot of people may not know this about me, but I'm pretty forgetful. So all my bad habits just, coming out now, confession time. So if I forgot to wish you happy birthday, I'm really sorry. And I recall my memory eventually, but it takes a lot of mental energy for me to recall it. So last year, I decided to buy a 256 gig iPhone 7 just so I can take lots and lots of pictures. Take pictures of anything and everything. Screenshot anything and everything. Send money to Ubliger because I owe her money. Screenshot Maybank to you. Remember to reply to this email. Screenshot email. Remember to call mom. Screenshot my conversation on WhatsApp with mom. And I also refer and look back to my old photos to see how I can incorporate what I've missed out during my planning and while I'm creating my to-do list. Now, the last step is to automate it. Automate all your good habits. It takes time and energy to get used to it initially. Research says that it takes 21 days to get used to a habit. And we're only talking about simple habits here, like, remembering to drink 8 glasses of water a day. It could take up to 66 days for a more substantial habit to be formed. And for a lot of us, it could range anywhere from 18 to 254 days. But make sure to keep track of your weekly milestones and celebrate them by rewarding yourself. Maybe get ice cream or, eat cake. And it is equally as hard to create new habits as it is to break old ones. Let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone and replace the bad habits with our good ones. When you've got your good habits down and your old habits out, you'll find that you have more time and energy to do more. Once everything is automated. Think of automation like operational excellence. The more you got going on and the more automated it is, the higher your output and the better you are at producing them. So now that you're understanding yourself a little bit better, let's dive a little bit more further into identifying what is your natural tendency. And now we're going to our second section. We will be discussing about the 4 tendencies framework, and believe me, after this section, a lot of things are going to make a lot of sense to you. Please go to this link, bit.ly/the 4 tendencies with the number 4 to take the quiz. I want to remind you to slow down as you approach the 70% mark in the survey, because that's when your tendency will be revealed. And if you've gone past to the 100% without knowing your results, then you'll have to retake it from the beginning. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Once you have done that, I would love to know your tendency. So do put them in the Slido poll. And again, if you've missed out the first part, go to Slido, as in sli.do, and put in the hashtag #TheRealPlanner, and you'll be able to put in any questions that you want with your name or anonymously if you prefer. And also go to our polls to put in your response. So while you're doing this quiz, I will talk a little bit about the creator of the 4 tendencies framework, Gretchen Rubin. Some of you may have heard, seen, or even have read some of her books. One of them is The Happiness Project, Better Than Before, which is really good for habit creation, Happier at Home, and several more. I personally have gone through all the resources in her website on gretchenrubin.com. and have urged my peers and friends to take this quiz because all your inclination and tendencies are explained, and you get a lot of clarity about your preferences and generally how you are wired. If you would like to learn more about why certain people function differently from others and how to motivate yourself and others to get something done, you definitely want to pick up the 4 tendencies. Alright, so some of you may still be doing it, but I'm going to move on to the next part now. So there are 4 types altogether. I'm going to talk you through what the 4 different types are. So you're either an upholder, which is the first type. That means you respond readily to both outer and inner expectations. Second type would be a questioner who questions all expectations and only meet an expectation if they believe it is justified. So in effect, only responds to inner expectations. The third one, which is an obliger, responds readily to outer expectations, but struggle to meet the inner ones. And last but not least, we have the rebels, who resist all expectations, outer and inner alike. So anyone wants to give it a guess on which one I am? Questioner? Alright. Sorry? Rebel? Okay. Alright, so I'll reveal to you guys in a moment. So globally, there are about 40% obligers, 24% questioners, 19% upholders, and 17% rebels. You may reflect some, if not all, tendencies in different situations and environment, but one of them will definitely stick out the most. So now let's start with upholders. You know, for upholders, they just want to know what should be done. They are self-starters, which means that when it comes to habit creation, they just have to plan out the action steps and follow through with it. Questioners are strong-willed, and we need justifications for doing what we're doing. The habit that we put in place must make sense and must be meaningful. We must know why we need to have good habits and how is it good. For obligers, they're highly committed, perhaps not to themselves, but to other people, which means they need a lot of accountability. The habits created by obligers need dependencies, and it is best to position yourself where you would end up letting someone down if you don't follow through with your good habits. And for the rebels, who are the most independent-minded of all, wants to have freedom to do something their own way. It would be good to keep your options open by planning not to plan, and let each moment be decided in that moment. And one strategy is to create a reward system, so you look forward towards starting your good habits. You know, so things should be clearer on why you make decisions the way you do. It is not easy as planning out what you need to do and then just doing it the very next day. Although, you know, the upholders may disagree with me. There are a lot of factors and circumstances that goes into habit creation and what more, habit automation. If there are 2 different people with 2 different tendencies, for example, one would be a questioner and another one is an obliger who shares the same habit, so let's say they both procrastinate, we cannot know for sure that one strategy that works for the questioner will work for the obliger and vice versa. If you realize I've used the word we when I explained the tendency for questioner. So whoever guessed questioner, yep, I'm a questioner. People who knows me knows I want a justification for everything I do. And as long as I've proved that supplements are good for you, washing my face before I go to bed is good, or that I should not be washing my hair every day because it's bad, then it becomes really easy for me to put good habits in place. If you are an obliger and you think that you lack discipline and you have been struggling to trust yourself to initiate something, then motivate someone to do it with you. Convince him or her to keep you accountable and ask for frequent check-ins. But be sure to align your expectation on how strict you want your accountability partner to be though, because it has to be just enough to get you going towards the right direction. For rebels, be aware of your consequences for your non-actions. Yes, at the end of the day, the option is yours, but you want to equip yourself to know enough about each outcome of each action you may make, so that when the time comes for you to make a choice, you'll make the right one. So now let's move on to our final and most important section of the webinar. In this section, you won't get to tell us what personality trait or tendency you have, but I will be doing in a moment is explain to you what are the 4 types of mental energy level we go throughout the day. And the lowest mental energy is the habit energy, which is when you mindlessly execute a habitual behavior. One level above that is the audience energy, in which you watch or listen passively, a lot like what you're doing now, I guess. And then we have engagement energy, where you are talking to people, you're reading, and you're observing with critical faculties. And the last and the most precious one is contemplative energy. That is when you do your planning, deciding, creating, inhibiting, whether you're holding yourself back from saying or doing or thinking something, and you're setting your priorities or making a transition. To give you a better sense of what I'm talking about, let me take you through the life and routine of Ashley Sulin. I wake up in the morning, I shower, brush my teeth, and put on my makeup using my habit energy. Because, I pretty much got this down, right? Having lived for over 2 decades already. And I drive to work, sometimes with my habit energy. But, sometimes the people on the road who are driving recklessly, they really can get your audience energy up, if you know what I mean. And my energy level starts to pick up then. And now I attend my first meeting at 9 a.m. in the morning, but I still don't feel like saying much. Or I don't want to contribute my ideas, my opinions. It's like I'm physically there, but mentally I'm in Bali, let's say. Then I take a sip of coffee or smell nasi lemak. Or you got caught up by your boss, and your engagement energy just kicks right in. And I start becoming more involved in the discussion, contributing my points, even challenging ideas. So then I often get contemplative energy when I'm alone and away from technology so that I don't get distracted. Sometimes I have lunch alone because that one time I decide to try it out, I got so much done in an hour, and it made me feel really good about myself for the rest of the day. So it all depends on the activity you're doing, and your energy level can go from contemplative energy to habit energy, and then back up to engagement energy and more. So I'm a night person. I do get extra chatty and attentive during dinner time, and my engagement energy just heightens. And I used to stay out late past 11 p.m., but I realized that the peak of my contemplative energy was between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m., right before I go to bed. It's almost like my mind was hibernating all this energy throughout the day, and is ready to flush it all out just before it shuts down. And because of that, I try to come home earlier and make sure that I'm seated at a comfortable spot to think about my life plan, learn coding, decide where I want to be in 5 years' time, or reflect on whether I'm happy with my current roles and the things that I'm involved in, write my graduate school application essay, and the list goes on. I feel productive when I'm matching my mental energy levels to whatever I'm appropriately using it for. So I know just the right amount of energy needed to complete whatever task necessary. Awareness is key. For some of us, it works like clockwork, but for others, your mental energy level can vary and can change very suddenly. I believe that is how epiphanies work, and sometimes we get a lot of that, right? So let's now go into a quick exercise to assess and evaluate your mental energy right now, currently, in this moment. Like, where are you at? Where are you guys at? Do you feel like talking to anyone? No? Okay, I don't think anyone here feels like talking to anyone. So perhaps we're all in audience energy. So now, once you have done that, reflect. Please go to Slido to put it into your poll. We want to know how many of you are still actually with us, or that you're in Bali, maybe. So now step 1 would be to identify your mental energy level and be sensitive towards how it changes from one level to another, and note down how. How is it changing from one level to another? Being on Facebook and Instagram for more than 10 minutes takes my mental energy down a notch. So I make sure I don't exceed the 10 minutes mark, because I was on it in the first place to relax myself so I can do something more productive. I don't want to get too worked up or distracted by the content and lose my momentum doing something productive later on. So decide that this week would be an experiment and plot your day from the moment you wake up to when you go to bed, and see how your mental energy levels goes up and down. When and why. Please keep in mind that your variables should be as consistent as possible. The amount of sleep and the type of substance you consume will affect your mental energy level. A lot of us are dependent on coffee. So if you're drinking coffee, do it consistently. Don't drink 1 cup today and 5 cups tomorrow and expect to have a consistency in your results. Or tea, soda, sugar helps give you more energy sometimes. And it also crashes down really fast afterwards. Some people rely on essential oils to get more awakened. Some people go for massages to relax themselves. Some people have cigarettes to be more awake, etc. It also depends on whether you are a morning or a night person. And of course, it will depend on the nature of your job as well. Step 2 is let's all now draw out 4 quadrants and label them as important. So it'll look like that. Important and not important on the top. Urgent and not urgent towards the left-hand side. So you should have 4 quadrants on your sheet of paper. So you might ask me, what is the difference between important and urgent? Important is what's important to you. Urgent is what's important to someone else. So which one should you be doing first out of the 4 quadrants? Anyone? Right. So important and urgent should be your priority. So now which one should you be doing last? That should be the least of your concern and just act as fillers. All right. Not important and not urgent. Those things are the ones you want to do it when you have time. If you don't have time, pile them up. And what about something that is important to you? Maybe you've always wanted to apply to master's or PhD, or that you need to have your medical checkup quarterly because it's important to you, but it's not quite urgent. Then you'll have to allocate time for it. And the things that are not important to you, but they're really urgent, which means they're important to someone else, try to get someone else to do it. You want to allocate time, and while you have time to do it, you want to ensure that you have time to train the other person to do it, and you help them through with it, and empower another person to help you out. So, let's see. Delegate out what you can, right? And then moving on. So for your first, so now let's go on to your first quadrant, which is the one that you prioritize. What type of energy would you want to use for it? Out of the 4 energy that we were speaking about just now, habit was the lowest one and contemplative energy was the highest one. Which one would you want to use for your important and urgent quadrant? Contemplative. Because contemplative would be your most precious one. It's the one that you want to use for the most important thing. And it's the one that is hardest to come by, actually. So the more you use it, the more you can expand your stamina, which means that you get used to using your contemplative energy for longer periods at a time. So be sure to spend it wisely with people you really value and things that really matters. And when you're using your contemplative energy for something that is simple or less challenging, it can feel really good temporarily. And it's going to be satisfying and enjoyable in the short term, like watching Netflix or playing a game on your phone. Because you're going to be aware of each sentence that each character says, and you're most likely going to be your high score. And unless those are really important to you, in the long run, it's going to lose its value. and you'll end up regretting having spent your precious time and contemplative energy on something that could have been done with a lower mental energy value. And once the contemplative energy has passed and you don't use it to do something productive, the moment's gone. And you lose a chance to test its true potential, its limit, and ultimately a chance to expand your stamina. Don't aim your life by just surviving on just engagement energy. You want to aim to achieve contemplative energy each time. If you're just aiming to live your life surviving on engagement energy, well, you will probably excel in all things business as usual, all the BAU stuff. You wake up in the morning, you go to work, you eat, come back, maybe exercise, and then you eat again, watch TV and sleep. That shouldn't be life. If you haven't gotten enough sleep for the last month and have been trying to survive on just audience energy, which means you don't want to talk to anyone, you just want to observe and go through the motions, you're probably going to get really burned out really soon. And one day, nothing will seem important to you anymore, and all you'll ever want is to sleep. So take a look at your 4 quadrants. Engagement energy is for those things that are important to you but not so urgent. Audience energy is for not important but urgent. And the last one, which is habit energy, the type of energy you get when you just woke up or when you're about to fall asleep. Save that for the not important and not urgent. Know this quadrant inside out and then put all your to-do list items into the respective quadrant. And depending on what your energy level is in that moment, do what is in each quadrant and train your mind to subconsciously aim to bring your energy level up a notch while you're actively doing something. Remember that it is like a marathon, so you need to learn how to pace yourself. Incorporate that awareness of your time according to its mental energy level and rebuild your schedule. Always know which quadrants are your priorities. I'm going to wrap up in a moment and take some questions on Slido. So if you haven't asked any questions on there, be sure to do that now. And if you see a question you like, that you want answered, a like on it so that it'll go all the way up. And before I end the webinar, I want to share some key Type P methodology with you. First, break all your activities down to modular activities. Our goals are always big ones. So don't try to go at them all in one go. Instead, break them down and you'll see that some sub-goals don't even belong in the same quadrant. Some can be easily done using habit energy, and some may require somewhat more. For example, if my goal is to run a networking session to expand my business quickly, and I need a minimum of 30 people to show up, them all in one go. Instead, maybe break them down energy to start. You'll see that some sub-goals don't even belong in the same quadrant. And then some can be engagement energy, so more energy to create a really good piece of marketing material. And, just habit energy to blast out an invitation on WhatsApp, Facebook, and email to all my networks. So you can see that all these different sub-goals belong in 3 different quadrants. My initial goal would have been in the important and urgent quadrant, right? Which means that I should have been using my contemplative energy to do it the whole way. But if you spend time planning on how you can break it down, you can see that they are in fact modular, that they fit in different types of mental energy levels in different types of quadrant. Second, always have pulse check moments. Using the Pomodoro technique, some of you may know how this works. What you have to do is break them down into different sessions. One Pomodoro session takes 25 minutes of, doing your task, and then the 5 other minutes is for you to take your break. So 25 minutes to do your task, 5 minutes to take your break. Use this as quick milestone rewards and to check on your energy level during your 5 minutes break. And in that 5 minutes, you want to do activities that either helps you maintain or increase your energy level. Grab a glass of water. Take a snack if you have to. Go to the toilet. Take a shower. Wash your face. Stretch. Put on your diffuser if you need them. Meditate. Listen to music. Ultimately, You know you best. And third, I call this the primer preparation. Set up all your activities as fillers. For example, if you know you're going to do laundry tomorrow, which is a Sunday because today is Saturday, check whether you have detergent Wednesday, which will take 30 seconds. Separate your garments by color, maybe on Thursday, that'll take 1 minute. Put all your clothes in the washer on Friday, another minute. Plan out what you'll have to be doing while your washing and drying is happening. Today, 5 minutes. So why spend your time on the primer? Because they're easy to do. They're easy to do while you're watching your YouTube videos. While you're watching videos, pause it, take 30 seconds, do those fillers. While you're watching Netflix sessions, pause it, do those fillers. And maybe you can do it right after you wake up or right before you go to bed, because it's not going to take that much energy to do those things. Habit energy are meant for fillers. Don't spend any other type of energy on it. If you know you're going to go work out tomorrow, charge your earphones, pack your workout clothes and equipment, pack water, etc. Same goes for if you want to make dinner, make travel plans, and then there are actual fillers on their own. Like, for example, reply hits or WhatsApp messages. Send someone money that you owe, like a month ago, or delete emails. Things that are not quite important and not quite urgent. Use that as fillers and do that during your habit energy moments. You wouldn't believe the amount of time you're wasting if you didn't time it. Waiting for the traffic light is 4 minutes each. Waiting for the elevator, 5 minutes. Your friend is late, 15 to 30 minutes, well, that depends on which friend. Waiting for Uber or Grab, 8 to 30 minutes. Waiting for your food, 8 minutes. Waiting for the toilet line, 2 minutes, and more. You should start timing this down, because those are the times that I've timed, that personally I've faced. And during those amount of time, I've done so much. All those to-do lists in my fillers, I get them done during these waiting periods. And now that you know this, you can automatically go to your fillers when you make this a habit. Don't waste a long stretch of hours doing just fillers or items that are not important and not urgent, those that are in those quadrant, and then call them productive. Because that is not productive when you're spending a whole hour just doing fillers. Productive is when you have read a book, learned something, caught up with a friend, journaling, creating, inspiring, and ultimately making a difference in your own life or someone else's life. Now, another automation process I use, which is the last one, is called date and day automation. So every Monday, I clear out my to-do list. I pump my gas every Friday, whether or not my tank is still full. And I've personally experienced being stuck on the road with no gas 3 times in my life. That was not good. My boyfriend had to Uber and bring gas to me so that I could drive to the gas station. So learned my lesson there. I pay all my bills, credit card, car loan, house loan, whatever it is, all on the 25th of every month. I change my monthly contact lens on 15th of every month. I change my bed sheet on the 10th of every month. And I wash my car on the 1st of every month. So you sort of get things automated so you know when to do what. And you don't have to worry about your to-do list piling up and getting your priorities mixed up. I also set dates with myself every month to learn something new or try something new. You could also make automation rules, like, for example, no Netflix on Fridays or no social medias on Tuesdays. So maybe on those days, your productivity peaks might get a little more higher, so you have more room to do what you prioritize in your important and urgent quadrant. And once you have learned to automate things, what you should do and should not do, things that require contemplative energy now will later on just require engagement energy or even less energy. See, good habit creation is your defense mechanism, and it's vital to ensuring automation happens. So the more your habits are automated, the more activities you can get automated. And this in turn will then take less energy to do, which means you can use your newfound extra energy to do more things. Yay! So now this wraps up today's webinar. Don't forget to check out therealplanner.com/workshops if you're looking for more information on productivity. We have 3 titles coming up all together. The first one, Organized Productivity, which talks about taking on more productive activities on top of your business as usual, your BAUs. And our second one is Work Smart. It's about seizing opportunities anytime, reducing prep time, and minimizing changes that needs to happen in order to get ideal results. And last but not least, if you would like to finally check off your new resolutions for once, your New Year resolutions are coming up in 2018, then join us for Resolutions Completionist. So do like us on the Real Planner Facebook page and follow us on Instagram, Alliance The Real Planner, to check out our upcoming planner, which will be launched on 22nd November 2011. And I hope to actually see some of you in my workshop. So use the promo code I am ready for 2018 to get 50% off all workshops. And if you need to get connected with me, you know where to find me on FutureLab.my. Sign up, and thank you so much for spending an hour with me. I don't know if that was an hour, maybe 30 minutes, not sure. And I hope that you will have a productive day and month and year ahead. Thank you. Oh yeah, so let's go to Slido and see if there's any questions that are on Slido. Okay, so the first one, I'm going to just go from the top to the bottom. Oh, yeah. Is there a way to prolong my contemplative energy? Oh, wait, that just went to the second one. Okay, is there a way to prolong my contemplative energy so I can be in the zone all the time? I think yes, a lot of people find it very difficult to stay in that contemplative energy moment the whole time. So what I like to do is I tend to break them out into different Pomodoro techniques. If I push myself for a whole hour, I find it really difficult to reboot and expand my attentiveness. But if I use my Pomodoro technique, I can almost gauge how many sessions I can go through. So maybe today you'll be able to go through 2 Pomodoro techniques, and then tomorrow you may want to push yourself to do 3. And the less distraction that you put yourself out there, like you don't want to get yourself distracted, then you can expand your contemplative energy a little bit longer than usual. You also want to make sure that your environment is conducive. You're not wasting or spending your mental energy trying to block out music or trying to block out that people are talking, or you want to get distracted by other things, right? So if you're able to just focus all your contemplative energy on what you're actually doing, then you're more likely to expand it bit by bit. And it's a stamina. It's like a marathon. So your muscle is, it takes time to build, right? You can't just expect your contemplative energy to expand immediately after you do a particular motion. So for me, I do a lot of things. Sometimes I like to do maybe some squats to get my energy pumping. I also sometimes go to YouTube and just watch a short video on, let's say, Genie Boy TV. Things that somehow makes you happy and somehow relaxes you. So once you take these quick short breaks and move on from there, then you find yourself being able to expand your contemplative energy for a little bit longer. Okay, next one. How do 2 different tendencies stay and make it in a relationship? Okay, this is a bit off topic, but I can take that. Okay, so if you read the book, The 4 Tendencies, right? On the last bit of it, it actually talks about the relationship between all 4 tendencies. So there's a permutation of it. So it will be like upholder to questioner, upholder to obliger, upholder to rebel. So you'll be able to find all the different types of relationship in there. The most common one is rebels and obligers. So if you're a rebel, your partner is most likely an obliger because, you know, you're random, you want to do things immediately, quickly, and then your partner will be like, okay, sure, because, you know, they want to meet your expectations. So our research has said that So, and even for questioners and obligers as well, if you're an obliger, if you're a questioner, your partner is most likely an obliger because you tend to ask a lot of questions and you want a lot of justifications. And your partner who's an obliger will most likely want to find all those answers for you and just to make you happy. So that's that. How do you say no without having the feeling of missing out of a good opportunity? How do you justify and comfort yourself? So this is a technique that I use. Write down 3 things, just 3 things, that is your priority. That you cannot live without these 3 things. Like for example, for me, first would be my job. Second would be, I'm also the project director of Lean In, and I'm also the founder of The Real Planner. So these 3 things are my priorities. And if I take on something else that I don't want to say no to, that I'm really tempted to take on, how will these then affect these 3 important things in my life? Are you willing to have it affect it just even a little bit? And what if you take on this thing, you might end up, getting kicked off one of the 3 things that is your priority. So you want to compare the pros and cons in that list. All right, thanks for sharing. Can you share 3 tips on getting a sudden boost of energy? So I mentioned just now, only you know you best. I used to drink a lot of coffee, and I still do sometimes, sneakily, maybe like 1 or 2 sips, and I really love the smell of coffee, but I know that whenever I drink coffee, my contemplative energy, it heightens up really quickly, but it crashes down really quickly as well. So I've resorted to different techniques to boost my energy. So one of the things that I do, which might not work for everyone, there's this app, Luminosity, on my phone that I do, and it somehow gets your mental energy up. It gets you sort of warmed up so that you're ready to do and take on something more important. And what I also like to do is, the screen went black for a while. And what I also like to do is, so Victor Chang has case interview websites, and on one of them is a math, how do I say it? It's a math website, which means that when you time yourself for 2 minutes, and then you do a lot of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division within that 1 or 2 minutes, and it really gets your brain really pumped up, okay, in that 2 minutes, how many questions am I actually answering correct against the global standard? So Victor Chang could answer it in all questions correct, of course, let's say in 1.5 minutes. And then for me, I'm okay, I managed to answer these questions, that X amount of questions, only in a minute, so that I can compare myself to the global rank and continue to push myself to do more. And I find that that is better than coffee. Whenever I do that, when I read emails or I read an article on Harvard Business Review or Inc., I tend to absorb a little bit more than when I don't do that in the first place. All right, let's see, what else? Do you have a framework on monitoring your mental energy? Yes. So what I do is, I think on the slide just now, we had step 1, which is create. So it's really simple. You come out with an A4 paper. On your x-axis, you want to put your 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Let's say you sleep at 11 p.m. So at every hour, or if you want, you could do it in an Excel sheet by breaking it down to every half an hour on your x-axis. And then on your y-axis would just be 4 types, starting from the lowest, which is habit energy, then audience energy, engagement energy, and then contemplative energy. So every time you feel like you sense a little bit of difference, like you're able to take on more, just plot a point. And then from there, you can actually draw a curve and compare it 5 days in a week and average it out. And then you sort of can see a pattern on when your contemplative energy hits. Like for me, my contemplative energy happens during lunch. And it happens before I go to bed. So I know that I want to make sure I have a book with me or articles that I've saved that I want to read on so that when the contemplative energy hits, I'm doing my best to make the most out of it. Okay. Is having a planner necessary or a phone app is better? Which one do you think is better? I have both personally. I honestly think that both a hybrid of it would work best. So for me, I have this app called Todoist, Todoist, Todoist. And what happens is that every time I think of something that needs to be done, I quickly put on it. So when it's done, I just delete it. It's really quick, really fast. Usually I use that for fillers, because for fillers, you don't want to have to put it in your notebook and then scratch it off, because it's going to be a waste of time and space. You want it to be put in really quickly, and you want it to be done really quickly as well. So it's in, out, really fast. So that's what I use my phone for. But other times, when you think about it, when you're thinking and when you're typing, I think thinking is closer to the speed of writing. I don't know about you, but for me, I write faster than I type. So as I think, I write better. I write faster than I type. But if you think that typing is better for you, that it matches your thinking speed a little bit more, then maybe you want to resort to more technological-based apps or planners. But if you're the type of person that enjoys writing, you feel like you're able to just expand your thought process a little bit better when you write, and you write faster, then I would say planner is the better way for you to go, as in like the physical one. Okay. All right, the last one, questioner, teach me how to create better habits. For that to happen, I would need to know what your bad habits are. So like I said, identify what your bad habits are, write them down, create defense mechanisms for it. Because when it comes up, you want to have quick solutions to it. You don't want to just let your procrastinating happen. I know I'm sitting down and watching Netflix. I should be getting up right now, doing something productive, but you just can't seem to move because Netflix is just going on, and it continues to go on to the next episode and the next episode. And if your remote control is really far away, then you're gonna use that as an excuse, right? So don't allow yourself to do that. Tell yourself that this is the bad habit. I'm aware of it. And just count 3, 2, 1, I'm getting up. I'm going to go do something with my life. So do that. And then when you've done just that, automate it. And it will take time. But eventually, you'll get there. And I think that's all the questions we have. And now I'm going to move on to the live audience now. Do you have questions for me? They are in audience energy now, you guys. So they don't really feel like talking. Okay, so that's all for today, and thank you so much for joining us. If you think that this webinar would be of benefit and would add value to someone else's life, be sure to share this video with them. FutureLab will post it up in just a moment, maybe, I'm not sure. So I'll catch you guys soon, and thank you again for joining us.